Hello Internet, and welcome to my live reaction for Eden Zero, chapter 183. When we last left our heroes, we opened with a little bit of conversation between Ziggy and Aknoella, as Ziggy told Aknoella why he was so desperate to kill Shiki, that he felt responsible for sending Shiki into this world, into the world with a concept of equality, and that made Shiki a threat who will, in Ziggy's mind, one day destroy the four cosmoses, or all the cosmoses, or whatever exactly is going on there. But yeah, it's implied there's maybe a little bit more going on there than Ziggy's letting on to Aknoella, but still. Meanwhile, the gang is struggling to fight the dragons until Holy reveals that she had considered the possibility that Aknoella might be a threat, and so she has developed anti-dragon ether, which allows her crew to, wipe the floor with the dragons. Hermit is able to develop an artificial anti-dragon ether that's somewhat weaker, but allows the rest of the crews to do some damage, but not really enough. It takes a lot of ether. And so, we get to see Homura fight, as she's not much of a shooter. She's in a fucking night gear with a sword coated with anti-dragon ether, and she just rains havoc on the dragons. And that's where we leave off with the way to Lendard open and everyone approaches the planet. So with that said, let's dive right on in chapter 183, Lendard. And I will say, I saw the chapter that was released late last night, and when I saw Lendard, I thought this might have been the French version or something, but then I looked at the next page, and only the next page, and saw the dialogue was in English, so this is the English release. But anyway, our cover here is of Moscow in this sort of traditional, robe. There's, scarf blowing in the wind as snow falls around him. It's a neat little picture. We open with the various crews approaching Lendard, or over the surface of Lendard. They're, in the atmosphere now. I do also everyone's in their, little fighter pilots. They're little, space fighters. And Homer is in a fucking mech. Good for her. But they're flying in. There's blaster shots being shot at them, and Shiki looks around. So this is Lendard, and Rebecca comments, "It really is all machines." And Wise chimes in, "It's like a factory." And then Hermit is talking to Homura and Elsie. "Shiki, Rebecca, Wise, and Homura, you all head for the planet's core. Elsie, I hope you'll join them. I guess everyone's on this call, but we only see Homura and Elsie's face." And Homura responds, "Understood." And Elsie, "All right." Though again, Elsie has her own motivations for being in this war. She wants to be the one to take out Ziggy herself. Anyway, Sister calls the ex-Draken gang, "Gene, Clean, and Laguna, you're with us. We're killing giants." And one of the trio announces, "You got it." And Hermit just says, "We have to defeat Crow and stabilize the outer frequencies before we can summon the Chronophage." And Holy chimes in, "You say defeat Crow like it will be so easy." And yeah, given what we know about Holy and Crow's relationship, Holy does not see defeating Crow as just something to casually spout out. But Hermit ignores that comment and asks, "Can you pilot a night gear? I've had the training. We do have night gears with the midnight, But Hermit tells her, "You saw Warrior Maid 95, right? I'm guessing the night gear on our ship are all higher performance." And Holy kind of presses there. "And you'll let me use an Eden Zero's night gear?" And Hermit just tells her, "You're treated like a member of the crew. Shiki's orders." And that stuns Holy. I'm assuming she was A, not expecting that, and B, maybe she's kind of going to end up doubting whatever evil plan she has for Shiki later. Anyway, Hermit then says, "You did background checks on us, so I researched everything about your past too. I know what Crow did to you, what he took from you." And Holy freezes. And I'm assuming there's a lot more specific. There's something much deeper there than what Holy has told the crew yet. I'm assuming maybe a love she was killed by Crow in that massacre she talked about. I don't know. Anyway, Hermit then looks at her, "You should fight. You can only conquer past humiliation by doing it yourself." And Holy, we see this single sweat drop as she says, "Thank you. I'm happy you're willing to help." And maybe that's a sweat of, like, intimidation that she's fighting Crow. Maybe it's a sweat of doubt. That whatever she has planned for Shiki, maybe she's starting to question that. I don't know. Anyway, back with the main quartet. We see Shiki and Rebecca and Wise's fighters. We don't see Homura anywhere, but they're all approaching Lendard, blowing up the turrets, firing at them. And Wise asks, "So where's this core you keep talking about?" And then we do see Homura just cutting through bullets and cutting down the turrets. And Homura tells him, based on its name, I presume it's at the planet's core. And Pino chimes in, "It appears to be underground." And Happy says, "That's perfect. Let's go underground, assuming we can get past his anti-aircraft fire." And then we cut to the Eden Zero, I presume approaching Crow, but still dealing with turrets of their own. And Elsie says, "I'll let you handle the airborne enemies. Shiki and I will go underground." Okay, so maybe this is... Oh, no, that's the Skull Fairy. That's not the Eden Zero, that's the Skull Fairy. Okay, I put it together now. Because the Eden Zero does not have the masks like that. But anyway, Shiki agrees, yes, from here on out it's hand-to-hand combat. And Pino, like, messes with the computer, sending a beacon at our destination. Going down, and they all, like, head towards the surface. And as Rebecca heads down, she thinks, I am going to summon a Chronophage and make it eat all of Lendard. Where I go, Chronophages follow. Where I went... But, you know, she's sort of getting lost in that same kind of angst that's been following her since Hermit first announced Operation Planet Eater. We see Happy trying to break through her. Rebecca! And she, like, crashes into something. Or she takes a blaster bolt, like, head on. And yeah, she's damaged there. Shiki calls out, "Rebecca!" And Pino says, "Miss Rebecca Starfighter, she's hit! She's going to crash!" And Shiki just pops out his lid. "Not if I can help it. Master!" And he just jumps out. You know, he has his gravity powers. He's not going to, like, fall to his death or anything, but he's kind of defenseless. No, I think he's actually... Maybe he has some kind of, like, gravity shield around him, so all the bullets will, like, curve around him or something. I don't know, but he calls out to Pino, "Wait for me at the rendezvous point." And he falls towards Rebecca's ship. And he lands on it. "Rebecca! Happy!" And he sees inside Rebecca's unconscious. So he tears open the lid. And he looks around, sees how bad the ship is, and comments, "It's going to explode." And he jumps away with Rebecca in his arms. There's a moment for you Sheikah shippers. Though I don't see Happy with him, actually. Maybe he is there, or maybe he didn't save Happy? I don't know. But the ship explodes. And the duo lands on the surface. And Hermit calls into Wise. "Rebecca's fighter is damaged. What happened?" And Wise tells her she was hit. Shiki went to her rescue. How are her vitals? And Sister tells him, "Looks like she's unconscious but unhurt. For now, I'll set a beacon at the point of her fall." But Pino tells Sister, "Master told us to wait for them at the rendezvous point. What should we do?" And Hermit then chimes in, "Comms are still live, right? Sorry, but I'm going to have to let you use your own judgment. We've got our hands full trying to take control of the airspace." And we see the Eden Zero working on its own fight against, you know, all the little drone fighters and turrets. The same thing that Shiki's gang is up to. But then we cut to Homura, Wise, and Pino, who have all landed. Homura is still in her ship, but Wise and Pino on the ground. As Wise calls, Shiki, do you read me?" And Shiki calls in, "Yeah, I read you." And it seems like he did save Rebecca. Or did save Happy, because he says, "Rebecca, Happy, are you okay?" And Rebecca wakes up. "Sorry, And Shiki just sighs, "What a relief. Where's Happy?" And he's fine. He's there. He's just sort of chilling. I'm fine." And Rebecca goes to, like, just hug Happy, this, like, warm bit of relief. "I'm sorry. I spaced out for a second." Yeah. And I will say, that bit of spacing out does feel like a warning of things to come. Like, it's some important... She's either going to space out in a more important fight, and take some serious damage that way, or she'll end up maybe not following through with Planet Eater. I don't know. That all remains to be seen. But Happy just asked her, "Are you okay?" "I am now. What about the others?" And Shiki calls in, "Wise, we're fine here." Rebecca and Happy, "They're not hurt. You?" And Wise tells him, "I'm standing by with Homer and Pino. I don't see Elsie anywhere." And Pino reads out, "Following your indicator, she appears to be acting independently." Oh, she sure is. I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't think she's gonna just wait for the rendezvous point or something. Anyway, Shiki then says, "Well, I don't think we need to worry about her. Anyway, let's meet up. Can you get over here?" And I think this is Wise's line. "Let me check the beacon. We're on our way." And as we leave them, we cut to the bowels of Lendard, it looks like. Sort of like back alley. And it's Elsie, wandering alone, out of her ship, and says to herself, "Shiki, I understand your plan, but Ziggy is one foe I must take down myself. The one who saved me. The one who taught me the importance of the family we find in our crewmates. That one has gone mad. He's completely out of control. I can't stand to see him like this any longer. I swear I will be the one who..." And she walks on. I wonder if she sees... Like, the way this panel is framed is like we can see everything behind Elsie, but whatever is in front of her is like whited out. And it feels like something made her stop, whatever she was about to say. And before we go any further there, I want to talk a bit about Elsie. Because this is, I think even Elsie acknowledges this is a very selfish choice. You know, the right choice here would be to work with the crew, even if you can't handle, like, just letting a chronophage handle Ziggy. The right choice would probably be, you know, work together with Shiki and the gang to handle Ziggy, not go off on your own, Elsie. But I think she's acknowledging this maybe isn't the right strategic choice, but it is the choice she, like, emotionally has to do. Anyway, she walks in on this, like, castle. This hodgepodge of buildings with, like, giant wires tearing through it. That I'm guessing is Ziggy's castle or something. And at the front is this, like, fountain. And she approaches the fountain, and she has this flashback to her and Justice. Hold on. Elsie says, "I know, James, let's kiss. How can you suggest that, Princess Elsie?" That, like, flashback we saw back in Foresta. And Ziggy then comments, "The kingdom of Lendard was once the most prosperous planet in the Kaide cosmos." And it's Ziggy who's arrived. And did we know that this was Elsie's home world? Was that said back in Foresta? Did I miss that? I'm gonna see if I can, like, very, very quickly, see if I can, like, find when Lendard was, like, first mentioned on the wiki. It says manga debut 172, but it doesn't say anything about when it was first mentioned. But yeah, I think this might be Elsie's home planet. I'm not sure if that was set, if they said her planet's name back in Foresta. I would feel really dumb if they did, and I just missed that for, like, the 13 chapters we've been dealing with Lendard. Anyway, Ziggy goes on, "Behind that prosperity lurked a human struggle for supremacy, and an undying obsession with arms development." And Elsie just stares Ziggy down. "How does it feel to be back home? Princess Elsie Lendard." Yeah, I don't think we knew that. The way this panel is framed, it's too clearly meant to be a twist for us to have known that. But I was just thinking, when we saw, like, a part of me was thinking when we saw the Justice flashback, you know, now that we're in the Kaide Cosmos, you will have to have an arc dealing with the Elsie Justice dynamic. But now that Lendard is that world, Justice will show up here. There is no version of this story that is better than the one where Justice shows up at Lendard. You know, the drama is just too high. Having Justice and Elsie clash here. But yeah, Princess Elsie Lendard, which there's where our title comes from. And Elsie looks up Ziggy. And Ziggy goes on, Lendard's weaponeering eventually became a threat to the entire Kaide cosmos. Even as young as you were, you had misgivings about it, and you handed your own kingdom's secrets to others. All you wanted was for your mother and father to stop their brutality. But what resulted was war. Lendard was destroyed. And Elsie just interrupts him. I had no idea you were using my fallen kingdom as your base of operations. And I'm assuming she meant, like, before the war started. Because, like, she knew several chapters ago when she was told about Lendard. But Ziggy goes on, this planet has revived as the home world of mechanical beings. And Elsie just, like, clenches her fist. Frankly, I have no lingering affection for this wretched rock. But I refuse to let you have it. And Ziggy just stares down at her. To think you will be our first sacrificial victim. This universe truly is fascinating. And that's where we end off. So a couple bits there to just instantly dig into. Is A, first sacrificial victim. That can't just be the first person that Ziggy's army kills, because they've clearly killed people before. You know, we saw people die on Foresta, as I recall. So they've been killing people for years now. So there's something special about the sacrifice that Ziggy's talking about. And I have no idea what it is. But I also want to draw a little bit of attention to page 17, that last panel. Behind that prosperity lurked a human struggle for supremacy. It's unclear what Ziggy is saying, at least in the translation. If Ziggy is saying that, like, this was a struggle for human supremacy, or if it's a struggle for supremacy that was, like, oh so human or something, like, kind of emotional. That's left a little unclear in this translation. And an undying obsession with arms development. I'm assuming whatever arms development that was, that made Elsie so scared that she leaked her kingdom secrets, I'm assuming that will come up very soon. I'm assuming whatever weapon that is A, still on Lendard, and B, Ziggy will use it before this arc is over. Those are my two assumptions here. But yeah, Elsie and Ziggy, that's already here. We're already dealing with that. So I will say, Elsie will lose this fight. I think that goes without saying, but 3 chapters into this war arc, we're not starting our final battle already. Elsie will lose. I don't think she'll die. I don't think she will die without justice being involved. You know, I don't think that Elsie will die before we find out whatever the hell is going on with her, or before we really, we find out whatever is going on. We kind of have, like, a rough outline of what happened between Elsie and Justice and the planet Lendard. But I don't think Elsie will die until Justice is here, and they can really deal with that whole festering mess of emotions. So I think Elsie will survive this fight, but she will be beaten badly. That's my assumption. That's my theory here. But it will be fun, especially now that we have that little, you know, reminder that or that little bit of development that this is Elsie's homeworld. She is Elsie Lendard. Well, that's her birth name, I should say. Also, I want to comment about whatever the fuck is going on in Ziggy's chest there. That mouth and, like, the orb in it, that's new, right? I haven't just, like, not noticed that before. I don't think I have. But yeah, good shit there. I can't wait to see how that Elsie-Ziggy stuff plays out, especially with the revelation that this is Elsie's homeworld. That's her castle, covered through, stabbed through with wires. And then the rest of the chapter is mostly, with one exception that I've talked about, but I'll get to again in a minute, is mostly just like, beating up turrets, sort of the gang slowly making their way into Lendard. But then there's that Rebecca bit. But like I said earlier in the video, I do think we're gonna look back at this part of this chapter, or this scene, and say that's foreshadowing for something that happens later. Either Rebecca having this, like, panic moment and getting distracted again during a big fight and taking a bad hit, or her turning back on Planet Eater, deciding Planet Eater is a bad idea, because she is, no matter what anyone tells her, Rebecca's choked up over her whole Chronophages follow me. So that's going to affect her one of these days. Before this war is over, I bet. But yeah, beyond that, a lot of just sort of slowly making their way forward. The Eden Zero and Holy and the X-Draken gang are all headed towards Crow, where the rest of the gang is heading towards the core and or Ziggy. And Elsie and Ziggy is here. That fight is starting any minute now, or next chapter, I'd bet, and I can't wait to see how all that plays out. So with that said, I'm going to leave this video off here. Hope you'll enjoy the chapter and the video itself. If you did, feel free to drop me a like or subscribe, or, do whatever makes you happy, And as always, your life is your own, okay? Bye!